In this video, we're going to talk about some firewall of the CentOS. You may know that because the CentOS usually to working as a server to provide services to the internet. So some firewall setting is very important for security reason. In the CentOS, there's a little different between the 7 and the 6. In the CentOS 6 or before, like CentOS 5 or something, the firewall service called net filter. But now in the CentOS 7, they changed to the service to the WALLD for this one. But all of them, they all based on the called iptable. Iptable is the fundamental, just underlay to handle all the packet. And this net filter or firewall just some like some services rely on the iptable, right? We can take a look. Like I say, the top can list all the cells running, and you use the Shift M, the capital M. You can see based on the memory to sorting all the process. You can see firewall use a lot of the is number one use the memory so far. Yeah. The other the setting knowledge is about the call C Linux. Maybe you heard this one because this more higher security standard of the Linux. You can turn it on or off. By default, I think should be turned on already. We install the CentOS because by default it's a server in the internet, so by default it's turned on. So if you turn on, then if you want to provide some services, it will be very complex setting, right? You need to open manually open one by one. And in this practice, you can turn it off, so it'll be easy for you to provide some services. Otherwise, every time when you install Apache or like the MySQL, right? Even you install it, you cannot connect it from outside because you need some special firewall setting here. In our case, we can just try to turn off first. So how can you know it's turn on or turn off? You can use the call set enforce command. Get enforce first. So it should be get enforce. Sorry, my computer is a little slow right now. So you can see currently the setting called enforcing. That means this SE Linux is on. It provides the more security setting layer. So we need to disable it. How can we disable it? We have two ways. Once you want to temporarily disable it, so you just say set enforce 0. Then you temporarily turn it off. So you can see now it's already become the permissive, right? But when this server reboot, it will just change it back to original setting, which is enforcing. So in case you need to want to permanently or just write to disk, let it even next time you reboot, you can still use this setting to disable it. You can change the file in this called etc Linux config. Let me see it. You can see here, currently by default settings enforcing. You can try to use VI or use the VM to change it to disabled, right? Or you can use the like this command called set. Set -I mean set is just a command which you can help you to use this command to replace or delete or add some line into some text file. You don't need use VI to edit it. I can give you so S just mean change replace, like we change it to this command. Let me copy paste. Then I want to change it to disabled, right? So Okay. From this file, Linux and config. Yeah, this file. Here, just mean original is this one. I replace with this new setting, and in this test file, dash I just mean in place. If you didn't use dash I can show you. You can output the result, but you're not really changing the file. Okay, let me see. I kind of forget it's which, maybe it's backslash. Let me try this one. Sorry about that. I missed this setting here. You can see I missed this backslash in the end. So after that, you can see I can give you the output already be changed from enforcing to disable, but the real file it haven't been changed yet. We can just use more again to show you. You can see it still be here, right? So that means now if this server reboot, you're still enforcing this SE Linux setting. So if you want to do some local in place setting, you will use dash I. Dash I you will not output anything, but you go here, already be changed to disabled. Like introduced before, before that, we usually net filter in the CentOS 6, but now use the firewalld. But everything based on IP tables. We can give a temporary checking for IP tables dash NVL. So you can see here a lot of the information. We can just to take a quick look, and because IP table, if you want to know more knowledge, you can use the main IP table. You can give you a lot of detailed introduction, but basically they just based on a chain, right? Like input chain, that means packet from outside to hit the host. You need to go through this IPO, this firewall check first before you can reach the kernel. Chain forward just means sometimes you want to use this CentOS as a router. You just forward packet, like you receive a packet from the interface A, and then this packet is not sent to the core. Instead, you need to go out to interface B. So just in this case, this CentOS acting like a router or switch, right? Then in this case, the packet will be matched by this forward chain. And also here's some special rule you need to check one by one. If you match, then the packet be allowed. If you didn't match, or just some deny, then the packet will be dropped, right? Like reject, for example. Output just mean when the kernel send the packet out to the outside, and then this will be matched by the chain output, and here will be checked, right? But I think here just accept just mean drop, that mean packet be drop, right? Accept just mean allow, that mean everything, right? So basically from inside to out should be allow everything, right? And yeah, but usually, like I said, currently we use this IP table has a more special setting, but usually we no need to care about that because we use the firewall, this service to control IP table. Use firewall will should be much easily. Firewall just as a name, you can think it's a firewall. Firewall usually should be zone, right? Different zone. Different zone has different setting. Some zone has some higher security setting, so you need to has more strict setting layer, but some zone is like public or untrusted zone. That means it has don't have so many security presetting layer. So how can you know currently how many zone you have? You can use this command called fire wall command. This is everything you need to change this firewall the source setting. You need to use firewall dash command. You can use the man to see all the different parameter. So first, in our case, we just get zones first. By default, like file or CMD. Here I forget to type in E, right? So it's a firewall CMD get zones. You can see by default it's 9 zones, right? So the other question is how the zone is by default, there's some by default setting. Like if some interface belong to block zone, that means every packet that received by interface should be block or drop, right? DMZ, you may know that in firewall, that's called DMZ zone. It's between untrusted and trust. Like you have some services provide to outside, you should put in a DMZ zone, right? Or like some trusted zone or work zone or job zone, right? Different zone has different default firewall rule. So we can just check one by one. And the one command is because first they define a zone, then the CentOS may have a lot of interface, right? Look at 0 or likely a new physical interface. How can you know when you assign a new interface, it belong to which default zone? You can use the call get default zone. So here you can see every new interface, if you begin to assign, if you didn't specifically set in the zone, you'll go to the public zone. So for this one, for sure you can change it. Like in our case, we can change the default zone. Like if in our case, uh, the CentOS is very security device. We want everything new interface it should configure begin to drop packet unless I allow it specifically. So I just change the default zone to the drop. So when you set, then you get again, you can see the zone already be changed to the drop zone already. So in our case, we only has two interface, right? We can use this if compare command to see how many interface we have so far. One is the interface, or from CentOS point of view, this is called physical interface. It's EMP0S3. This is for the go to outside. Loopback just for some service purpose and for some local testing called loopback 0. So we can just try to see they already belong to which zone for each interface. So you can see get zone of interface equal to 0 or equal to a loopback. You can see currently we didn't assign any zone for the loopback. If we didn't assign anything, basically that means this interface cannot communicate with the other zone or the other interface. And the other is called the, let's check the physical interface. So it should be this one. So this one you can see is belong to drop. The reason is this one belong to the default zone, right? But we already changed the default zone to drop, so that's why this belong to the drop. But what kind of action can be done in the drop zone? We need to check the special firewall rule inside. This one will be covered later on. Now we already find out this EMP, this physical interface belong to drop zone. Then if I want to put it, change it to the other zone, even the default zone is drop, how can I do? I can use this command. We can just change it, right? Like this one, we can use I want to put it in the public zone or whatever. We can change it, interface equal to EMP 0S3. Let me see. Okay, sorry. We need to give it a value here. Like I want to change it to public zone, right? So then we get the again. You can see it changed it to the public already. This is show you the how to add this interface into this public zone. If we want to do the reverse setting, like I want to get this interface out of the zone, how can I do? I just need to change a command, like the change interface. I just need to call remove interface, right? So after this one, then you get to again. you can see now it's no zone. So basically, change just mean adding an interface to this zone, remove just mean move out of zone. In the same time, one interface can only belong to one zone. It cannot belong to two zones. So for each zone, there's some default setting layer. Then if we want to list one single command to list all the active zone and all the interface belong to each zone, you can use the call get active zones. Currently, I think we don't have any active zone. Okay, because the reason is currently we only have two interfaces, right? This EMP is no zone. Hello, loopback also no zone. So that's why you don't have any active interface so far belong to any zone. So that's why you output is empty here. So let's re-type in this command, assign EMP to the public zone again. Then we type in the command get active zones. Here we go. We can see now we can see the public as one interface is this one. The other loopback 0, we haven't assigned anything yet, so that's why we still cannot see it. Zone just provide a setting, set, right? So you want to check how many currently services this CentOS can provide to outside. You can use the get services command. So you can see a lot of things already be provided. Like this is allow. It doesn't mean already install it, right? Like you already allow the iptables, allow this ldeb, but because you haven't installed it, so that's why your CentOS still cannot provide real services. But this is the file rule already be there, right? This is get services just list all the existing services allowed. But if you want to look at which already be allowed by this currently zone, right? So you can let me see drop, yeah. Because my default zone, remember I changed default zone to drop, right? So here just list all the services allowed in the drop zone. I think yeah, we use this command. Currently we are in the public zone, so we use just the command zone equal to public. The reason is currently I only has one interface, ENS that interface belong to public zone, right? So we need to check out if I put interface in this zone, what kind of service I can provide outside. You can see we can provide the DHCP, also SSH. That's why currently I actually is logging, right? I'll login from my home Ubuntu desktop. I use 22 log into this server. The reason is we already by default already enabled SSH, but I didn't enable HTTP. That means if I install Apache maybe fail. SSH is by default when you install the OS layer. So again, this command just lists all the services you allow. You can edit it. You can add or delete some services, right? This command is for special zone. For currently, it's by default is public zone. I list all the services you can allow in this special zone. This means globally. It's not for special zone. So the next question is currently we already default is public zone. Also my interface belong to public, but it only allow the likely SSH. If I want to add more services, how can I do? So you can use the command to add more services. So later, like I add the HTTP, later I install Apache, it can be enabled right away, right? So I just add the command services equal to HTTP. Right? So you can see here successfully. Then just let's check again. This service you can see HTTP already in here. You can follow the same procedure to add a MySQL or something else. One thing you need to pay attention. This one, if you use this command, right? It will only be, how can I say, clear. You use this command, right? You can just temporarily add these services into the zone. So it's this command, right? But when you send out reboot, this setting will be disappear. How can I just add the permanently? I want to save into file. So even when you reboot, you can still take effect. I no need to manually to add a public again and again. So everything should be in here. By default, this is the configure file location. So every time when the CentOS reboot, this firewall service will read the configuration from here to know how many what kind of service it can open. So you can see here still be 2. Even I manually add HTTP, but it still be updated this file yet. So how can I just let it to be permanently? So I just use this command, the send command, but I just add one parameter which is called permanent. A-N-E-N-T. Okay. Now, if we go to this file to check again, you can see HTTP already be here. So that means next time when you reboot, then this interface can still provide the HTTP because this interface belongs to this zone, and also this zone has this setting already allowed here. And sometimes we have some special requirement, which is likely we allow the HTTP, but this HTTP is not in the standard port. Usually HTTP should be like port 80, right? HTTPS should be 443. But in case I want this HTTP to be the 8080, or like some FTP, usually should be 21. I want to use like 1121. How can I do? So here's some example. First of all, everything. Let me see here. Word should be in the zones, I think. Yeah. This is the system template for each zone, right? For the template for the setup by the system already, right? Here, but in here it should be zones. You can see here. Here is the, how can I say, when the system boot up, first you will try to search in here, right? This is here's some higher priority. If you find the public SML in here, then you will apply let me show the difference here. Okay, here's updated by us. Remember, we updated the HTTP, right? So system, when you boot up, you will just check this folder first, then check this folder. If you in this folder already find out we already have some zone set in this folder, then you will just apply this setting. You will not apply for this public in this folder. This folder is called system template folder. Let me show you what's the difference here, right? Yeah, here still only 2, right? SSH and DHCP, but here already be 3. But if you can see this here only the public, they don't have any work or any trust another one. So if the system cannot find this special setting in this folder, you will go to this system default folder to find another setting like work or home and apply from here. So usually when you just want to add one new resource, how can you do? What's a normal procedure? So we should first of all, usually we should not create anything from scratch. We always just update from the template. By default, the system already has some setting already for some each default service like the Jenkins or like some FTP or crontab or even the NFS, right? So we just copy it and just do some change layer. So we just again for service is the same. Everything listed in this folder is system by default. But if you do some customize already, you should just check this folder. Currently, I think it should be 0 because I didn't do anything yet, right? So first, I need to go into this folder. If you want to customize something, okay, then I copy, Like I want to change the, like I said, I want to change the FTP, right? I want to copy the FTP from this original template folder and then in here, right? Then after that, let's just add this FTP. We want to change it to the call the 21, which by default to the 21.121. Then save it. So this is the first step. We still allow FTP, but now FTP still monitor in the TCP, but we change the port from 21 to the 1121 already. Then the second step, we need to do the similar thing. Go to the zone, right? Go to zone, and here you can see cd zones. Here we only have public. Now we, for example, I don't want to for the new interface, I don't want you to go to public. I want to use the worker, for example. So I use almost sensing. Go to here, firewall. This -USR lib is the by default it's a template, and this etc firewalld is a really working directory. It has higher priority, so we just copy the zones. Like I want to copy work, right? Copy here, then again do the sensing, do the worker, and then in here. Remember, we add one. I want to add one services called the FTP. Okay, then because the system will find FTP, but remember this FTP already be our customized already, so the port here we change it to the 1121. Okay. Now we already updated the configure file, but it didn't be loaded in the memory yet. How can I know? Like we can use this firewall, cmd zone equal to work to list all the associates. You can see it still be a 2. How can I let it be take effect? We can use some called reload. Reload that means you can read the configuration file and reload all the setting. Then after that, you can see we already added the FTP already, right? But this reload may or may not impact the ongoing traffic. We need to take a look later on. Now we continue to discuss how the Linux to schedule some tasks. The one way to implement some tasks, you can log into system to type some command. This is a manual way. But sometimes you want this task to be run every 1 minute or maybe in the 12 a.m., right? You cannot wake up at that time. So how can you do that? And Linux provides some very good tool called crontab. You can just let me get out this one, crontab, right? So you can define the command. This here's the example, right? This is 1 minute. In which minutes, right? You want this to run, and which hour, day, month. If you didn't put a number, just place the star here. That means every, for example, this hour. If you set 1, that means 1 o'clock a.m. If you put it as 22, that means 22, which is 10 p.m., right? But if you put a star, that means every every 1 hour. So the same concept for this minute, right? If you all a day, right? Like you want to implement this one in the first day of each month, so you put a 1. If the second day, put a 2. But if you put a star, that means you want it to run every day, right? So and also here just mean which username to run which user ID to run this command. If you do not put it, you will because the cron tab or cron job it belong to each user, right? Each user has a cron job setting. So if you didn't put a username here, so by default you'll be let the same user who owns this cron job file. Command just means a command to be executed. Here, then how can you know what kind of the cron job you have so far? Like I say -L. Currently, I don't have anything we don't have anything here in for root, right? So I can give you one example. For example, I want to every minute I want to echo hello, for example, right? We can give it a try. Okay, hello. So we can give it a try. We can just use the -e. That means I want to edit my clone tab file. So in here, let me copy there. I think it should be, sorry, give it. I need to copy this out to in case I forget something. Okay, then I just use the same format to do it. Okay. Okay, now I just use the clone tab and -e to edit. So use I to insert some new character here. So like I say, I want every minute. So here I put a star, right? I just put everything to be star. So one, this mean hour. This mean day of a month. This mean a month. This mean day of a week. Just you can see here the detailed explanation. If you put all star, that means every 1 minute, right? So user ID, I use root, right? This is my username is root. I think if you don't put it, maybe by default, because this cron tab belong to root, so by default you use root to run this command. And then which command I should run? I should echo dash hello. Okay, so let's save it. Then dash L again. Yeah, that means every 1 minute you begin to echo some hello out. This is called clone job. Okay. In a normal case, when you run some command, right? Like here, say, like a command, like a still be echo. Take an echo as example, like a hello. You want to output some log file. So later you can check the log file. Otherwise, if you just echo it, you didn't output some log file, then you cannot check this command successfully be done or no, right? So usually just greater means append to some special log file. And this one too just mainly this one just mean a normal status output. In case this command has some error, that you'll be output to the code 2 in the Linux, then 2 dash some error log, right? For example, right? This is the best practice when you use some clone job in the Linux. And how can you know? Sometimes this clone job already be terminated by something. How can you know this clone job is still running? So you can use the PSAUS. Remember, this command is just list all the ongoing process. You can list PSAUS, then grep clone, right? Yeah, you can see this clone D still running so far, but also this system CTL. Later video, I will just tell you more about the system CTL. Basically, this is a big change between CentOS 7 and CentOS 6. Before CentOS 7, they used to call INIT, but now from CentOS 7, they use some special system management all the services. It'll be more efficiently. So every time when you check the system level, you always use the system CTL. You can check status also, call it clone the d.services. So you can see every time you see active running, that means everything is okay. And you can verify it by this command -L to see what's the real for this root so far. Sometimes you don't need it, you can use -R. They can just delete default clone jobs. Then you can use the clone job again to see there's no any clone job for this one. And the other options for you, this only can be implemented by the root. For example, currently I have one root user, the other regular user called future. If I want to use root login to set up clone job for the future, then I just -U. That means everything I set up will be saved to the future clone tab. The task will be run as a future. as his UID layer. So again, this can only be implemented by some super user, right? If you are a regular user, like a future, you cannot set up for the other people, right? And going back to this system control D, this one will be check the status. Every time you see the service acting running, that means the green color is okay. But sometimes it's really some issue. You need to restart or start or stop, right? You can use this command. Sometimes the clone D or another services basically is the same. They have some issue there. You all use this command trying to restore. Okay, I think let's see it for this two thing. I introduced this firewalld, which is iptable. Also introduce some crontab. This is also very important for the operation. If you are doing some operation job, these two concepts are very important.